राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे निकुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे 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 राधे 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 श्याम मिला दे कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे
श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे राधे
राधे राधे
श्याम मिला दे
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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे
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 श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे राधे
राधे राधे
श्याम मिला दे
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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे
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 श्याम राधे राधे 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 घनश्याम राधे राधे
राधे राधे
श्याम मिला दे
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 कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे राजे घनश्याम राधे राधे
कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे कुंज में विराजे घनश्याम राधे राधे
नमः शिवाय ओम नमः
शिवाय हर हर भोले नमः शिवाय
नमः शिवाय ओम नमः शिवाय
हर हर भोले नमः शिवाय
ऐसे तो
सद्गमय
तम
you. Welcome to satsang. We'll start, as always, with a question that's come in advance and then open it up if anyone here has any questions. How do we keep a balance between our ego and our heart? What are the ways to keep our ego in check? The ego is only able to do what the ego does when we're not looking at it. This is the game of wisdom. The ego very rarely comes and says, oh, by the way, okay, so I'm the ego here, and what I'm saying is the voice of the ego here. When it comes sounding like it's your well-wisher. It comes sounding like it's the most smart inner voice. The ego comes and it says, you should do this, don't do that. This is what's important. Don't those people know who they are? You should know who you are. This is what you have to do. And so this is where it's really insidious. If the ego came and before it told us anything, it said, okay, just to let you know, now is going to be the voice of the ego, it's much easier to handle. Those of us who have been on a spiritual path for a while and are very introspective, we recognize the ego. And it makes it, it's still there, but it makes it somewhat easier to deal with because you start being able to see, this is just my ego. So even though it's still present, it's not quite as dangerous because we're able to look at it. We've developed a habit of being able to say, I know that voice. That's my ego. I know that mask. That's my ego. I know that game. That's my ego. So for me, for example, I know when it's my ego saying something. So it's not that it goes away entirely. It's not about being kept in check. It's not that I can feel my ego saying something and I lock it in a box and throw away the key. It's not the answer, because then you just have it screaming from in a box inside you. But the last thing that you want are voices screaming from lock boxes inside your own psyche. The point of the spiritual path is freedom, expansion, openness. And so what I have found the best way to deal with the ego is, first of all, we have to learn how to recognize it. Because when we can't recognize the ego, that's when it's dangerous. When the ego takes the form of that inner wisdom, or the ego takes the form of a really valid fear. No, you shouldn't try that, because if you try that, you could fail. And if you fail, then you will be horribly humiliated. And it sounds like it's a really valid argument. But on closer inspection, we realize it's just the voice of the ego telling us you're small, play small, don't ever have courage, don't step up to the plate, don't think outside the box, don't actually expand into the truth of who you are, just stay in this little box. But it's insidious because it doesn't say, by the way, this is just your ego sent to scare you. This is just your ego sent to keep you small. It plays as this very rational, very good, very smart, very helpful voice that's going to guide you on the right path for your life. And really all it is a mix. But it's not a blended mix. It's not like you've thrown all the voices in a blender. It's much more like a really out of sync orchestra of lots of different voices. Some of them are going to be voices of our culture that may say things, for example, like, women shouldn't do that, girls shouldn't do that. Or that may say, you're too old to do that, or you're too young to do that, or you're too poor to do that, or you're not rich enough to do that, or you're not smart enough, or you're not good enough. Or it may be something that says you're stupid, you're worthless. Maybe something that says don't take the risk. Not a smart decision. So these are voices of the culture that have really been given to us in many ways over our lives to keep us playing certain roles. Some of it may be voices of our parents or our teachers or other family members who meant well. That's the thing. The people are not meaning badly. They weren't trying to harm us. They're just doing the best that they could. Speaking from their own place of fear, from their own place of confusion, from their own egos, from their own subconscious programming. And so, maybe, for example, when we were young, maybe we got the message in our home that when we came home with good grades, when our room was clean, when we did all of our chores, we got the message from mom or dad that we were a good girl or a good boy. And so we grew learning that our goodness, our value as a human being was rooted in what we did. Cleaned up your room? Good girl. Got good grades on an exam? Good boy. Didn't do well in school? Didn't clean up your room? Didn't do your chores? Came in too dirty? Bad boy, bad girl. Now again, this is just honest, well-intentioned, good-hearted parents trying to do the best they can to discipline their kids, to have us clean our rooms, to have us do well in school. But the messages that we take in are who you are as a person. Your value as a human being is based on what you do. You do well, you do what I want, you are good. You get a place on my lap, you get a big hug and kiss. Maybe in some houses you get cookies and cake or special ice cream or whatever it may be. You don't do what I want. Well, suddenly I'm not so eager to bring you into my lap and give you hugs and kisses. Now I'm disappointed, I'm upset. So what we also learn is that my actions are those that bring happiness or sadness to people I love. That's a heavy responsibility for kids. Not only is my value rooted in what I do, but mom and dad's happiness is also dependent on me. Look, mom was so happy when I came in from school until I told her I failed my math exam. Now suddenly mom's not so happy. Look at the responsibility that I have to keep mom happy. And I mention this because this is all the stuff that our ego gets built out of. When most of us talk of ego, we think just of arrogance. But the ego is much, much deeper and much more subtle than just arrogance. The ego is not only the one who says, oh, you're the best, oh, you're the smartest. The ego is also the one that says, you're stupid, you're worthless, don't do that, don't take the risk. Who do you think you are? So on the one hand, the ego may be the one who says to us, who the hell do they think they are? Like, don't they know who I am, that they should be much more respectful to me? But the ego is also the one who says to me, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are to be so brave? Who do you think you are to start that project, to be able to do this, to dream for that, to want to accomplish this, to stand for that? That's also the voice of the ego. And so this is where I say it's like an out-of-sync orchestra. It's a lot of different sounds. It's cultural sounds, societal sounds, sounds of parents, sounds of teachers, sounds of so many people's voices that we've internalized growing up. And so when we talk about keeping the ego in check, it's not about pushing it away, because you end up then locking up a lot of voices. The ego is not just one thing that you say, go, ego, in the box. As I said, it's all these different voices, different feelings, different fears, different desires. A lot of what we yearn for, a lot of the stuff that we call success. When you have a lot of money, when you have a good job in a good company, that's what we view as success. Well, again, this is workings of the ego. This is cultural and societal norms that we've internalized. Oh, you got that job in that company, you must be really proud of yourself. Oh, you're an artist or a musician. I'm so sorry, is there nothing else you could do? Right? I mean, this is sadly the way that our culture operates. Parents whose children are punch and time clocks in multinational companies. Oh, you must be so proud of him or her. Parents whose children are artists or musicians, sannyasis, school teachers. Get, interesting. Right? Not the same, oh, you must be so proud. So we live in this culture, again, that's giving us all these different norms. What's acceptable? What's success? And then, of course, we judge ourselves by that. So when we talk about the ego, it's a lot broader. It's a lot more subtle. And so keeping it in check is not about, as I said, sticking it in a box. It's about being aware of it. That's all it is. Being aware. Oh, yeah. There's the voice of my 5th grade teacher who told me I would never amount to anything. Well, that's all right, because Einstein's teacher told him he wouldn't amount to anything either. So, okay. Can live with that. There's the voice of my mom or my dad or an uncle or an aunt or a relative who told me that I was only valuable if I looked a certain way or acted a certain way. Told me I should gain weight or lose weight. Try some new fairness cream, dress differently. Well, okay, I can understand. He or she was going through their own difficult time. He or she had their own issues. And we start to really understand the pieces of our ego. We start to be able to see them for what they are. Oh yeah, I understand how this is a cultural norm. And just to be able to name it for what it is. And then when the ego comes up, you're able to look at it not as some horrible evil being, but just kind of as this annoying neighbor who sometimes gets a little bit too loud when you're trying to meditate or think or sleep. Who you meet on the doorstep. Maybe you used to let the neighbor in the house because you didn't realize that you'd never get him out. But now you meet that neighbor on the doorstep. You say, oh, so nice to see you. No, now's not a very good time, but I hope you have a wonderful day. See it for what it is. As you see the ego arise, and this is really what a lot of the path of mindfulness is about. It's not about bad ego. It's about just understanding, yeah, I have these components in me that have been imprinted upon me during different aspects of my life. They're not the truth of who I am. They're not soul or spirit or consciousness or love or truth. They're just impressions that have been made upon me by different voices, different values, different experiences I've had. Maybe I was made fun of in a class for being too fat or being too skinny, so I developed a complex about it. Maybe I was made fun of in class for not being able to do math. So I became afraid of math or afraid of numbers. I convinced myself I'm not a math person. Whatever it is, we start to see things and understand where they're from. And what happens then is they just lose their power over us. So the way to keep the ego in check is simply to see it for what it is. It's just impressions upon us from people, from places, from experiences that are not truth, not capital T truth, not wholeness or fullness, not soul, spirit, consciousness, but that are just impressions. We see them for what they are, but we don't let them run the show. So like the neighbor, you've come back to tea today. Well, unfortunately, not going to be a good time, but nice to see you. So we're not killing it. It's not about kill the neighbor, kill the ego. But it's also not about feeling horribly, oh my God, that neighbor came to visit again today. Oh my God, my ego came back. Just see it. Yeah, there was my ego. And you actually can develop, and for me, I have found this works personally very well, just a very deep interest. My ego arises and I think that's so interesting. Hasn't come to me like that in a while. That's a whole new face of my ego that I haven't actually seen before or haven't seen in years. Wow. How interesting. I wonder what it was about that situation that made that aspect of my ego come up. And then it becomes just another pathway into understanding ourselves. And so see if you can develop, instead of this love-hate, I've got to kill you relationship with it, can you develop just a bit of interest in it? But nothing that's too serious. Nothing that takes it too seriously. Again, it's your quirky neighbor. Kind of knocks on the door at all hours. Not very convenient times. See it, acknowledge it, recognize to yourself, that's my ego. But don't invite it in. Don't sit it down for tea. Don't bring it into your bed. Don't give it a room in your house. Don't leave your house to it in your will. Don't give it any control over you. Just recognize, you also exist. And then we come back into our spiritual practice of creating space. Instead of trying to squeeze the ego out, can I be aware of a spaciousness in me that also includes space for this guy over here to coexist? He doesn't get to run the show. He doesn't get to tell me what to do. He doesn't get a room in my house, at least not my inner house. But I'm not looking to kill him, annihilate him. You know, we talk about annihilating the ego, and I've always felt that that's a really, it's ideal if you could do it, but I've never seen it work in an effective way. Usually all that ends up happening is you're doing battle with yourself inside. And the problem with that, as I always say, is you go to sleep with the loser. Doesn't matter who wins. You're all in one bed together. It's all inside you. And so if you've got to take the loser of the battle to bed, do you really want to try to have a battle with yourself? Instead of that, understand, yeah, the ego's there. It exists. I know what it's made out of. I know where it came from. I can see the different pieces. I don't need to annihilate it. But I just need to understand he's not running the show, or she's not running the show. And the less power you give it over you, the less troubled you'll be by it. The ego is powerful only when we run from it, we're afraid of it, we're trying to annihilate it. If we just can kind of see it and smile at it and say, have a good day, thanks so much, I've got something more important going on. It actually ends up being much, much more innocuous, much more harmless. And then it just coexists in this ever-expanding space of the truth of who you are. Before taking any of our other questions that came in advance, I'm happy to open it up to any questions that anyone here may have. Yes.
How to be at peace with your wife?
How to be at peace with your wife. So we'll begin with the humorous and then come to the more serious. My dad is an attorney. This is true, not a joke. My dad is an attorney. And he practices divorce law. So literally, and in LA it's a full-time job. So from morning till night, all he has done for the last 45 years is get people divorced. He used to do it as a litigator, he now does it as a mediator, but he has spent literally his entire career only with couples who are getting divorced. And he happens to be a very smart man. And my dad has a saying, a teaching, which I love and I share as frequently as I can. And the teaching is, you can either be right or you can be married. You can't be both. In India, where divorce is not so common or prevalent, we could amend it slightly to say you can either be right or you can be happily married. Because maybe you won't actually get a divorce, but then you just find yourself in a miserable relationship. So you can either be right or you can be happily married, but not both. Meaning, you have to decide in every situation, is it more important here to be right or is it more important to be at peace? And there's very few situations that arise in a marriage that are more important than being at peace. I mean, if your wife said, I'm gonna, take a gun and go out and kill all the neighbors, well then by all means, stop her by anything you have to do. Even if it's a fight her. Stop her from killing the neighbors. But if what you're talking about is what you're gonna have for dinner, if what you're talking about is the basic day-to-day stuff of life, is any of that really more important than being at peace? Of course not. You may end up getting the dinner you wanted, but you've got indigestion because you've been fighting. You may end up winning the battle, but you sleep alone. So what have you really accomplished? And so, Puja Swamiji, it's been actually beautiful because Puja Swamiji, of course, gives all of the teachings from the scriptures, from the Gita, from the Vedas, from the Upanishads. My dad has never read the Gita or the Vedas or the Upanishads. He gives teachings from his life. But it's been interesting because the teachings, particularly with regard to this, overlap completely. So at the end of the Bhagavad Gita, after Bhagavan Krishna has told everything to Arjuna, at the end of it, he says to Arjuna, I've told you everything. Now you do whatever you think. Not I'm going to hold your hand to the fire, you must do what I say. But I've told you everything. Now you do whatever you think is right. What does Arjuna say? I will do whatever you say. Karishye vachanam tava. I will do whatever you say. And Pujya Swamiji always says, this is the secret to a happy marriage. Realize that ultimately the point of being married is not about getting your way in the little things. The point of being married is using that as a way to get closer to God. That's what life is for. So whether you're in the brahmacharya phase of life, whether you're in the grihasthashram phase of life, vanprastha ashram, sannyasa ashram, whether you're in any of those ashrams, at any point of life, the ultimate goal is to progress spiritually. And so it's never about getting my way. It's never about the external things. You would never say, oh, this guy's very, very successful as a grihast just because he's got a good job and lots of kids. Success in the householder phase of life is when that family is one, where through their family relationships, the husband, the wife, the in-laws, depending on whoever is there in the extended family, they're all progressing closer and closer to their own spiritual awakening. The ultimate goal of a family life is not just that we should be able to agree on what we eat on Sunday mornings, that we should be able to agree on what TV show we watch. The ultimate goal is not even that we all should, get along and play cards together after dinner. Ultimately, the whole point of that phase is through that phase to get closer to God. It's not that we spend our lives far from our spiritual path and only when we get to that sannyas phase do we become spiritual. All four of the phases, all four of the ashrams are for spiritual opening. So the question in the grihasthashram phase is, how can I use this? Okay, Cello, I'm here. I didn't choose to take sannyas in advance. I chose to go through this. How can I use this phase to get closer spiritually? And recognizing in every moment that I have the choice to choose peace. Number one. Number two, not only do I have the choice to choose peace, but recognizing that my emotional state is 100% up to me. Doesn't mean that my husband or wife or in-laws may not be the most annoying person on the face of the planet. I mean, somebody's has to be the most annoying person on the face of the planet. Somebody's will be the second most annoying person on the face of the planet. Somebody's will be the third most annoying person. Granted, you may absolutely have married the most annoying person on the face of the planet. It is possible. Somebody has to have married him or her. Most likely. Maybe it's you. Who knows? But even if it turns out it's you, nonetheless, Your emotional state is not determined by that person. No one has the power to reach their hand into you and to take all of your neurons in your brain, to take the chemicals in your brain, to rearrange the electricity, the chemicals in the brain, to take the adrenal glands on your kidneys and squeeze them till they secrete adrenaline. It's your brain that does that. Nobody reaches in and grabs them and squeezes them until you've got adrenaline pumping through your body. We secrete adrenaline because our brain says, I'm stressed. Well, again, nobody's gone into your brain, pulled the right neurons, like our blinds in the house, open something, shut something. Nobody can do that with your neurons and get them to get stressed and upset. We do that. We are the only ones who actually have the power to impact the workings of our own brain like that. Unless you happen to be married to a, neurologist who's removed your skull and is prodding you with a metal probe. But if not, if you've still got your skull all on, you're the only one in charge. And so it's a wonderful opportunity to realize you may be the most annoying person on the planet, and I am still able to be in peace. Look at that. I'm still able to be happy in this moment, even though I'm face to face with the most annoying person on the planet. Because that power is within me. We think that people outside make us unhappy, make us stressed, make us miserable. They do not. We choose. We choose. What you did is something due to which I'm going to become upset. I have that choice, which means I also have the possibility to choose something different. And this is my favorite question in the world. Every time you find yourself getting upset, ask yourself the best question. Is there an alternative? And the reason that I love this question is it's not a criticism. It's not something that says you're a bad person. It doesn't say you're not spiritual. It doesn't say anything. It's simply an open-ended question. Is there an alternative? Do I have a choice? Might there be a different possible way of responding in this moment? And what you'll find is there's always an alternative. Even if you're married to the most annoying person on the planet, there is always an alternative. And you've got free will to choose whether to take that alternative or not. But if you don't, then you need to realize you've chosen that. And that's up to you.
Pardon me.
Yes, that's okay. No problem. Part 2.
Part 2 is how to bring your mother and wife at peace.
Aha.
Part 1 is very easy.
Done. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll come back to that in 1 second. Yes.
Why always bad thoughts come in mind in spite of good thoughts, and due to these bad thoughts create a tension or negativity or a fear in the mind?
Okay.
How we can reduce our power?
Wonderful. Okay. So we'll finish up with the family situation, and then we'll come to the thoughts in our mind. If there were an easy answer to the wife and mother situation, we wouldn't find an almost infinitely large pool or ocean, rather, of movies and sitcoms and books that come out of this dilemma, right? If it were a simple solution, You wouldn't have TV producers, movie producers come up with more and more and more storylines about it. That being said, when you find yourself in the middle, the first and most important piece to realize is that's not your job. Presumably, you've married an adult, right? I mean, presumably you don't have a child bride. Your wife is an adult. Your mother's an adult. That I know. If they're both adults, they should be able to have an adult relationship. If you can help, by all means help. Because of course they're both going to come to you. But if you find that you have really done everything you can to help, and nothing helps, then you need to be able to say to the two of them, and I would suggest saying it to them together. Bring them together. Put an arm around each of them. Tell them both how much you love them both. Tell them how much it hurts you that they don't get along. Maybe do it on your birthday. Maybe do it on Diwali and say, for God's sakes, I know you're going to give me other presents. I don't want any other present. The only present I want, if you actually love me, is to please get along. But you have a very unique role also, which is you have insight into your wife's behavior and her way of thinking. You have insight into your mother's way of thinking and behavior. And in situations like this, there's almost never one person who's right and one person who's wrong. It's almost always the two of them push each other's buttons. And then you develop a pattern and it moves and it gets worse. If you can recognize this and you can help them each understand, you can say to your wife, Deko, you've seen 500 times that mom has a fit when the salt is kept over here and not over here. She has a fit when you cook these two things together. Tika, it may be totally unreasonable, but kya bari baate to karo na. I mean, really, like, who wants to live with another fit over a stupid thing that we can easily solve? And help your wife understand that she has an opportunity to choose peace. It may not make any sense why the salt has to be here and not here. It may not make any sense that these two dishes cannot go together. But these are the little compromises that we make, that we say, it's more important to me to have peace in the home than to put the salt shaker where I want it to go. I'd rather put the salt shaker where she wants it to go than have every meal end in a fight. And in the same way, help your mom. Hare Ma, come on, really? She's young. She's new. She's trying. Up to my. Right? Up to my. Really? Choti choti cheezon ke baare mein? You're going to lose yourself? Hare Ma. Up to matlab mahane. Right? Help your mom also understand that she's supposed to be a role model here. The role of the mother-in-law is not to engage in small nonsense things. She's now supposed to be in at least the Vanprastha ashram's phase, if not the sannyasa ashram phase. Help her understand. There was a time when you got to decide where the salt shaker went. When I was young, we got in trouble if the salt was out of place. Ab to chodo ma. Right? And you can do some of this. So I would say do as much of that as you can do without losing your mind. But also take them both and help them understand they are adults. And don't engage with each of them. So if either of them come to you complaining about the other, what you have to say is, mujhe suna nahi. They have to understand that they will not get any reward for that behavior. If I know, I'll give you an example. I love to tell stories. I'm a storyteller. Sometimes they're apocryphal stories, parables, sometimes they're true stories, sometimes they're true stories of my life, sometimes they're other people's stories. I'm also someone who, as I go through my life, things that happen, I think, oh, that's a good story. And for man hota, you want to share it with somebody. Oh, you won't believe the funny thing that happened to me today. Now, something very interesting. When I've observed extended periods of silence, if I've gone into silence for several days in a row, what I notice is my mind stops even noticing stories because I know I won't be able to share it with someone. And it's not so important ki ek hafte ke baad, you're going to say, acha ek hafte pehle this little funny thing happened. People would say, really? You've spent a week in silence trying to remember this funny thing that happened last Tuesday? Or nothing else has happened in your life? It's a little thing. If you see somebody 10 minutes later, it's a story. But a week later, it's not a story. And so what I have found is, interestingly, if I know, okay, I'm in silence, though I'm not going to be telling anybody this, my mind does not even remember it. It flows like a river. It's like a line in the sand. But if I know, oh, this is a great story, oh, I know who's going to love hearing this story, then I remember it. And I share this with you because if either of them knows, okay, oh, I'm going to tell him this, they will hold on to it until they see you. They're going to want to remember it and tell you. But if they know, okay, he's not going to listen, they won't hold on to it because they know that there's nobody I'm going to go and tell. And make all the family members part of this. Anybody else who they tell stories to, make sure that everybody says ki mujhe suna nahi. No story zone, no drama zone. Put up signs in the living room, no drama zone. Like we have smoke-free zones, drug-free zones, drama-free zone. Put a sign on the dinner table, drama-free zone. Because if I know that I can't share it, I'm not going to hold on to it. Maza tabhi aata hai if I can share it with someone. There's no maza if I'm just telling myself it. So if I know I can't share it, if I know ki drama-free zone, they'll also let things go more and more. Okay? Yeah. So, last question for tonight. The thoughts in our mind. Why we have the negative thoughts even when we have positive thoughts. So, negative thoughts frequently come out of a habit. And this is where they come even in spite of good thoughts. So for a lot of us, what happens is we embark on a spiritual path and we make a very concerted effort, a very conscious effort. I'm going to think positively. I'm going to not have judgment. I'm going to be peaceful. I'm going to be loving. I'm going to see the divine in all. I'm going to just chant my mantra, do my japa. And as long as we stay conscious and present and mindful, we succeed. The dilemma becomes when I lose my consciousness and then my habituated thoughts come in. This is where the practice of mindfulness and of being in the present moment, of being conscious, is so important. If I'm really consciously here, those old patterns of negative thought won't come. They only come when I'm not being present. And so whenever you see them, don't analyze it too much. Don't push it away. Don't fight with it. Don't hate it. Don't yell at yourself. It's like going back to what we were saying about the ego. Just see it. Recognize it. Oh yeah, that's my judgment. Nice to see you, but unfortunately you're not welcome tonight. Have a good day. And take your mind back to the present moment. Bring the mind back to your breath. Bring it back to your mantra. Bring it back to seeing the divine. Bring it back to just being aware and mindful in the moment. Bring it back to that. In the present moment right here, there isn't the place for the negative thoughts. The negative thoughts, the judgment, all of that comes when I'm in this habituated part of my mind, when I'm in my ego mind, when I'm in a place of separation. Because negativity comes only when I'm separate. So if I feel separate from you, I can be negative about you. When I feel separate from myself, I can be negative about myself. I can only be negative about something if I'm separate from it. When I'm one with it, it's also the only way we can harm something. I can only abuse another, harm another, cheat another, cut a tree, eat an animal, pollute a river. I can only do any of these things when I feel separate from that which I'm harming, whether it's a human, whether it's a body of water, whether it's a tree, whether it's an animal. Only when I feel separate from it can I harm it. And in the same way, this pattern of negativity is there only when I'm separate from either the people I'm feeling judgment about. Oh, this guy's stupid, this one's stupid, that one's too fat, that one's too thin, this one's ugly, this one is lame, whatever it may be. Or if I feel separate from myself. You're this, you're that. If I feel separate from God, nothing good is going to happen to me. God has forsaken me. Sab khatam ho gaya. That's only when I feel separate. And so any practice that brings you back into oneness is going to be a practice that brings you back into truth. Now, that doesn't mean that things we would consider negative don't happen in life. People get sick and die. We get sick, we'll die eventually. Stock market crashes. Divorces happen. We get fired from our job. Houses burn down. Accidents happen on the freeway. I mean, simply being spiritual, thinking positive, being connected, does not mean that these things don't happen in the world. And when they happen, we're present with them. And sometimes what's present in the moment is grief, sadness. Car accident happens, an illness happens, people die. People we know die, people we don't know die. You read a news story, you see something, some children died. It's sad. Nothing wrong with that. It's part of the human existence. We've been given hearts so we can feel. Tear ducts so we can cry. To be able to experience that pain, that sadness, that grief, that's part of the human spectrum of emotion. But that's different from when you talk about just negative habitual thoughts. So this is where it's important to understand. Is what I'm having a true, real, honest feeling in the moment? And if so, be with it. If there's sadness, be sad. If there's grief, grieve. But what you'll find with those is they change very quickly. When we actually are present with our feelings in an honest way, they don't last very long. They come like a wave, it builds, and then it dissipates, and then some other feeling comes. And then it dissipates, another feeling comes, it dissipates. That's being aware. And we're able to see them for what they are. Yeah, sadness, grief, loss. And that's what's present in that moment. But also in the presence is the me who's saying, grief, sadness. Who is that? Who's the one saying, that's grief? Who's the one saying, sadness? Who's that I? Who's the one watching me be sad? And then we have the opportunity to watch it, to be present with it, but to be present with it from a completely different place. To be present with it from sitting on the cliff watching the waves of the ocean, instead of actually being the one in the waves of the ocean. We're still there. We haven't run away. But instead of being tossed around in the waves, we're able to watch the waves. So they're just different levels of awareness. One level is, I'm in the wave. Another level is, I'm sitting on the cliff, watching the wave. And then there's even another level that's watching myself sit on the cliff, watching the wave. And those are all places of awareness, places of presence, just deeper and deeper. But the negative thoughts that come just out of habit, just the nonsense, subconscious kind of commentary that runs in our mind, that's the stuff that we want to get free of. That's the stuff that comes when I'm not present. And so when you find that coming, just bring your awareness back to the present moment. Bring it back to the breath. Don't try to say be positive. Just be present. Instead of saying be positive, say be present. Be right here, right now. Be with the breath. Be with the environment. Be with the smells of wherever I am. Be with the sights of wherever I am. Be with the experience of my breath entering and exiting my body. Be with the chanting of my mantra. Be with the divinity of the experience of where I'm sitting, the experience of the divinity within me. The divinity in those I'm with, whether it's a tree or a human being. Can I experience the divinity in them? Be present with that. And that'll quiet all of that subconscious, constant monkey mind negativity. Get out of separation, be in oneness.